So I'm going back now. What happens to your life? I mean, overnight it gets a million views. When you go back to school the next day, are people starting to realize, or does it take time before people fully understand around you what's happening?
Yeah, I think I was out of town on like some school trip uh, while it was all going down. And so I came back a few days later. And so it had been a few more days of like garnering up attention. And yeah, the first day back at school was pretty intense. Um, which, like, looking back, I'm like, I don't know why this happened, but like at recess, like every kid in the school just like came up and like I guess
Mm.
had questions or were like so equally confused and like
Wow. Okay.
trying to I don't know do something all
So,
being 12 year
so
olds
at
but
first it wasn't like super negative amongst your peers. They were mostly just curious what the heck was going
yeah,
on.
I think so. I
That's
think
okay.
so. And then I mean honestly like from that point because everything got so insane in like my world and now there were all these opportunities and obligations and us trying to figure out what was going on. um I didn't spend a lot of time at school, and so
Really?
yeah, I mean I started doing like pretty poorly in my classes, and I was which like my parents being in like medicine are obviously like insane about
Hmm.
their expectations. So I started doing like really poorly. So they ended up taking me out of school and putting me in a homeschool to finish the year. There were only like a couple months of the year left. And um, yeah, I mean, I had definitely some experiences with some kids in middle school around the time it was like really happening that were pretty shitty,
Really?
just kids like being stupid,
Yeah.
saying little things or singing the song in like a clearly not,
Yeah.
positive way, which like I wasn't looking for people to be like, I love your song. Like, you're amazing. Like,
Hmm.
even that felt really weird to me because I was like, well, I didn't like this, this feels like it has nothing to do with me and what I
Right.
wanted to do,
Right.
So, yeah, it was pretty much just that.
That's interesting. So you did homeschooling for a few months just
Yeah, a
because you
few
had
years actually.
a few years.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Was that almost to get away from all the, because I feel like it would have been pretty hard for you to be, or maybe not hard, but different
Hmm.
for you to be going through like high school and middle school and stuff normally
Yeah.
in the face of all that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because it just kind of like kept ballooning in my world, and like I got pretty isolated from some of my friends because obviously, like I was in a really weird headspace and tackling a bunch of issues that
Mm.
I'd never dealt with before, and my friends were also probably like, "Hello, like where the fuck are you? And what are
Hmm.
you doing when I'm like up here, for the first time and working and." Trying to figure out what the hell is happening. Um, so it was, I spent my first couple years of high school doing like online school.
Mm.
And yeah, that was like probably the lowest pit of my like emotional
Yeah, I can
health.
imagine that would be
Yeah.
super isolating, just not
Yeah.
being at home, doing
Yeah.
school there, and then like, I don't know, do you even get to socialize at that point?
I found some friends through like Tumblr actually, which was
Hmm.
how I kind of got connected to YouTube when I was like 16.
Hmm.
I would just spend so much time online, and yeah, I kind of lost like a lot of my friends um, from before. Lost a lot of connection with them, and just kind of did my own thing. And like my parents were obviously working full time. My brother was in school, so I was alone for
Hmm.
the majority of like being 14 and 15, other than coming up and doing like at that time I was with a manager that wanted me to go record new music
Mm.
and do all this other stupid shit, honestly. And yeah, it was really really a pretty intense period.
So when you say that was the lowest point for you during that whole arc, like how old were you at that point? Like 14, 15?
14, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just overall, like feeling like depressed and stuff like that.
I was
or-
so depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on, at one point, I went and saw a therapist. I was on antidepressants. Those did nothing for me. I mean, I basically like, I think the thing that I felt at that time was like, whoa, how did this just happen? Where like I was, less than a couple years ago or less than a year ago, I was in a place where I was like exploring and like so excited about like what my future could be like like before Friday ever happened. I was like such a like happy little musical theater kid, like so excited and passionate. And like at that point, I literally felt like all of that had just been like sucked out of me. And now I don't even get to like explore that. Like everyone has said like, no, we don't want you here. You don't belong here. You've actually ruined the sanctity of this for all of us. And like, all of the scathing, like ruthless reviews that were going on at the time. And then also like dealing with now being a kid in the industry where like everyone is, taking advantage of everything, that you want to do or think that they should have you do so that they can capitalize off of it. Like it's really hard being a kid in a world where like you're in an industry where everyone is only just trying to figure out how they can, capitalize off of you.
Do you have any regrets, kind of how it was handled? Do you regret being homeschooled or doing the video at the time? Did you regret doing the video at all? Do you wish you could just like go back in time? Or
Oh, I probably had huge regrets.
Yeah.
At the time, yeah. Because I felt like I'd literally like ruined my life.
Yeah.
I was
feel
like, what
it
am I gonna do?
just pushed you to like mature overnight? Because it's almost like before you were this kid that could just be a kid and naive and, like you said, explore and imagine what the future would be, and then
Right.
like and maybe not overnight, but over like a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all of a sudden now, like once everything happened, my brain to cope was just like, well, how do I make people not hate me?
Shit. Yeah.
So I like just tried to, cope with what I thought that could be and became, not that any 13-year-olds have a sense of self, but like that development for me was so delayed because my whole teenagehood became like, how do I become, how do I find a group that like identifies with me and like thinks I'm like, not this like bizarre, like weird, dejected person. And which might sound like extreme to people who are listening, but it like being a kid, like you have no other experiences.
That doesn't sound extreme at all.
To base your life
No,
on.
the experience you went through was like, I mean, nobody else, your experience was so unique that
Yeah.
I can imagine it'd be super hard to find anybody to relate with you.
Yeah. I mean, I was really isolated and I spent a lot of my time online. Like that was what's so ironic about the whole thing is like, I spent so much time isolated by myself trying to find who I was that like that was when like my love for like music and finding the artists that like really resonated with me and all of that really began. Whereas like I was like, just like a little 13-year-old like Justin Bieber stan before. Like that's how I feel like I started to find like some semblances of like real deep love for music was because that was literally like all I had alone in my room and Tumblr. And yeah, it was an intense.
Were you guys ever able to make any money from that whole situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I own the master to the song.
Okay.
I didn't write it, so I don't own the publishing, but I own the
So
master.
you own the recording. So anytime anybody used the song, you get paid. And then also, does ARC get paid for the writing? How does that work?
Can't talk about that.
Oh, you can't talk
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's nice though that you at least made a little bit of money from it. And are you still getting paid for sometimes people use it and
Yeah, sometimes.
nice.
I mean, I like have a lot of other stuff going on now,
Yeah,
luckily, that it's not my, main source of revenue, but it did. I mean, my like the way that it works in the entertainment industry is like when you're underage, the way it's supposed to work at least is like if you're an underage person in the industry, you get a Coogan account set up. So when you turn 18,
Right.
20% of everything you've made gets opened up to you and only you. Which my parents would have never like touched that shit. But yeah, so.
Do you
that
find it
helped me.
totally crazy as someone who was super famous as a child, how on YouTube there's like no protection laws for kids?
It's insane.
Isn't it so crazy? It
It's
blows my mind every time.
I know. Yeah, it's really interesting to see like the world of like the family vloggers and like
Yeah.
the kid influencers. And I remember like growing up and then becoming friends with a lot of YouTubers and hearing their stories about supporting their families. And I mean, it's a really like, yeah, I wouldn't know how to go about that, but like it seems like by now there should be more in place.
So
For sure.
when you say that there's an account that needs to be made and the 20%, like that stuff doesn't happen on YouTube families, or I guess
I
there's
don't
just
know.
no
It
I don't know.
nobody
It's
watches.
supposed to in the entertainment industry. Like
It doesn't, I don't think, because YouTube is
crazy.
kind of,
Removed.
it's outside.
Yeah.
It's outside the thing. But
So
yeah.
it's like whatever they
that's-
choose to do is what. They
Dude, if
do.
there's
Yeah.
some
Crazy,
kids
yeah.
where there's some channels where they're using their kids to make like kids content or video.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest one, and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I don't know, but this one, Ryan's Toys Reviews, dude, they probably make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right, I know
like,
that one
legit.
because I think one time it was like the most earning channel or
Subscriber
most
owning or
subscribers
some-
or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
still popping, but
Wow.
this kid Ryan, who's he's super young when they started,
Aw.
and you know,
I've never seen anything bad about them, so
Yeah.
there's a chance that they
Yeah.
are responsible.
I
But
mean, I hope so.
but
I
there's
hope.
so many other ones. It's just
yeah,
Yeah.
I-
Well, and even now, like you see, like these like kids on TikTok, right, who are getting all these brand deals, and like, I mean, I'm lucky that like my parents had at least like some right guidance because they had no fucking idea what to do. Like set me up with like a company that like I'm the sole, you know, I mean, at least when I turned 18, I became the sole owner of and like had my stuff protected.
Yeah.
Which every person, every child in the industry should have.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, even like labor laws. Like
Yeah.
that was
Right.
something that I learned about when I even like would go on like a late night set as a 13-year-old.
Oh,
Is like
right.
you have to have a set teacher. You're only allowed to be like working for a
Wow.
certain period of days
Yeah,
or
it's
certain
super-
hours, you know?
The
Wow.
laws of
Yeah.
working with children is crazy strict,
Crazy.
and on YouTube, none of that shit
No.
applies.
Even when I was on the Katy Perry video, like I was a co-star on her video for last Friday night,
Yeah,
and that was so strict. You know?
really. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like? What,
I mean, I hated it at the time, obviously, because I'm like, why am I doing school? But I would like get to set, had to have a set teacher with me at every point.
how long were you on set?
I was on probably for like, I don't know, 12, 14 hours. I don't remember.
Just one
honestly.
time?
A couple days.
A couple
Yeah.
days. Okay, so
Yeah.
this teacher was with you the whole time.
They have to be with you for a certain, I don't know the rules.
Do they actually
exactly.
teach you shit, or is it just like bureaucracy?
I think because I was doing online school, I did like majority of. She was basically just supposed to like be there to encourage me
Okay.
to do it. But probably
Okay.
knowing me, I was like on Twitter the whole time.
Mm-hmm,
So you know, there could be more work done, and you know.
So
making
what
sure those-
what other things happened on set for you in like the Katy
Oh,
Perry
God.
video?
That one was so rare. I met Corey Feldman.
Oh.
The king.
The king. He was really very sweet, actually, and like playing on his like Nintendo DS the whole time. Katy Perry was honestly like so cool to me back in the day, and so just like sat down with me and like talked to me several times.
Oh, that's nice.
And, just kind of gave me like some advice. Glee was like huge at the time. I got to meet them. I don't remember what else.